Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. How you doing? It's Chris here. I hope you're all doing extremely well. And this is my first ever tutorial. We are inside Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, and today we're going to do a quick flight from Bristol to Southampton in the United Kingdom to demonstrate some basic IFR capability within the sim. We're going to be flying in the Daya TBM 930 aircraft, and we're going to be taking a direct departure out of Bristol from runway 09 and a direct arrival into Southampton using an RNAV or GPS approach into runway 02. The really cool thing about Flight Sim 2020 is that you don't have to, unless you want to, of course, you don't have to go and plan out your flight using charts off of like VATSIM, for example, although that is half the fun of it for me. I love actually charting out my flights beforehand and manually entering them into the flight management system within the simulator. But for those of you that are less familiar, it maps all of this out for you based on your departing airport and your arrival. It will map out the flight plan for you. So you can see here we're departing from Bristol, which is Echo Golf Golf Delta, and then we'll be traversing these waypoints. So Newbury, Pepys, Bamtu, Hotel India 02 Foxtrot, and then finally arriving at Southampton, Echo Golf Hotel India. So without further ado, let's jump into the sim and we'll make our departure out of Bristol. We're using live weather today, and I've set the time of departure for around 7 o'clock in the evening, so we should get some nice visuals departing out of Bristol. But anyway, let's jump into the sim. Okay guys, so here we are on runway 09, ready for our departure out of Bristol. We have been cleared for takeoff by ATC. So first of all, we're just going to jump into the multifunction display here and check our flight plan. I'm more familiar with the Garmin G1000 that you would find in many aircraft, including the Cessna 152, but more recently I've been flying this particular aircraft, and I found the FMS actually quite intuitive and easy to use. I haven't watched any YouTube videos around this aircraft. I've literally just jumped in and kind of fumbled my way around. It's also worth noting, guys, that I'm by no means an expert at all. I have literally taught myself everything that I'm gonna show you guys today. So, you know, please don't take this as gospel or how you should do things. I'm certainly not following proper procedures, just having fun in the sim and just demonstrating how easy it is to set up the FMS and carry out a basic IFR navigated flight from one destination to another, and then how to do a procedural RNAV or GPS approach, in this case into Southampton. So let's go ahead and check our flight plan. In the previous main menu, when we set about crafting our route, we obviously selected Bristol and Southampton, and it automatically loads your departure and arrival airports and the associated waypoints into the FMS for you. You can, of course, just set this all up manually and enter these in yourself, and we'll go through that on a separate video. But for now, it's loaded in the flight plan into the flight management system, with the exception of the procedure or the approach into Southampton. The way that we do that is to select procedure here and go in and just confirm the approach. We are going to make an RNAV approach into runway 2 in Southampton, so we can go ahead and load that into the FMS, and then later on, as we start our approach, we'll go ahead and activate the approach in the FMS and make our way down, hopefully assisted by the FMS, catch the glide slope down into Southampton. Okay, so let's set an initial altitude of say 3,000 feet here, Oops. And let's release the parking brake and make our way out of Bristol. Let's check flaps. Flaps are already set for takeoff. We have our lights all ready to go. So let's start our departure. Bit of right rudder to counteract the torque of the propellers. Keep us on the centre line of the runway. There we go. Let's rotate. And up we come. Positive rate. Let's take the landing gear up and bring up the flaps. Just trimming the aircraft out here. Bring the power back a little bit so the engine's not screaming its head off.
Air Zulu India Sierra, contact Manchester Centre on 118.775.
Let's quickly acknowledge ATC.
Going to 118.775 Air Zulu India Sierra.
One thing I find with this aircraft is it has a tendency to bank to the right, and you can adjust the aileron trim just down here. So we're flying in a nice steady straight line. Let's go ahead and tune COM1 for Manchester Centre at 118.775. We can do that here in Navcom. Let's transfer that in.
Easy 6140, contact Bristol approach on 125.65.
Let's contact Manchester Centre.
Manchester Centre, Dair November Echo X-Ray Zulu India Sierra is at 2,000 feet, climbing 8,000 feet. Dair November Echo X-Ray Zulu India Sierra, Manchester Centre, continue as planned. Altimeter 30.11.
Let's adjust the barometer to 3011. And let's put the yaw damper on, select the autopilot,
65 easy 6140.
and turn nav mode on to FMS. And now the plane will use GPS to follow the waypoint set in the flight management system. We'll wait for ATC to tell us to ascend. You can also turn weather radar on here as well, guys, and we can use this knob here to zoom in and out of our VFR map. Beautiful evening for our departure here.
Air Zulu India Sierra, contact London Centre on 118.475.
Okay, let's contact London Centre. 118.475. I don't know why it says Manchester. Let's acknowledge the handoff.
118.475 for Dair Zulu India Sierra.
Climbing out to 5,000. Let's set our altitude there at 5,000 feet. Unless air traffic control tells us any different. You can, of course, without manually entering your comms in here, which I just like to do, you can just, of course, use the ATC GUI here, and it will tune
London
the frequencies
Centre,
for
Dair
you.
November Echo X-Ray Zulu India Sierra is climbing through 5,000 feet for 8,000 feet.
Okay.
Dair November Echo X-Ray Zulu India Sierra, London Centre, continue as planned. Altimeter 30.11.
Did it tell us to go to 8,000 feet? Did I miss that? Ah, yes it did. So I missed that. Let's head on up to 8,000. There's two ways to ascend in this aircraft. You can hit flight level change and it will ascend or descend based on the relative speed of the aircraft. So at the moment we're at 215 knots. If I hit flight level change, it's going to try and ascend and maintain that airspeed. The other option is to use vertical speed here, and we can then set, using this dial, our preferred rate of ascent or descent. And as you can see here,
Air Zulu India Sierra, please expedite your climb to 8,000 feet.
we can increase, so we've set our ascent rate now to 1,500 feet per minute, and the aircraft is now starting to ascend to our designated altitude of 8,000 feet. ATC moaning at us because I didn't catch the request to ascend earlier. Let's have a look at our route. There we go. So cruising along nicely at 190 knots and making our ascent up to 8,000. Absolutely incredible, it's got to be said, what Microsoft and Asobo Studios have accomplished in this sim. Really is incredible in terms of the graphics, and actually what's really impressive is how well this runs on a fairly conservative system. I'm running an Intel i7-6700, which is a 3.5 gigahertz quad-core processor, and I have the NVIDIA GTX 1070 graphics card, and I'm able to run at high to ultra settings and maintain a good 30 frames per second. So very, very impressive and so immersive. I just can't wait for virtual reality, although I suspect I will be spending some money on upgrading the graphics card to enjoy the same level of performance in VR. So we can kind of sit back and relax a little bit here, guys. We're approaching our cruising altitude of 8,000 feet and flying along nicely at 215 knots, and we will await further instructions from air traffic control as we approach our next waypoint, which is Newbury, and wait for ATC to instruct us to descend. One thing that I do find, you can see here that according to our flight plan, which we should be at or above 4,800 feet by the time we get to Newbury. I suspect that ATC will tell us to descend to around 2,500 feet when we get there. Again, there just seems to be a bit of a disconnect between the FMS and ATC, and I think it's just little bugs that will hopefully be ironed out as the sim matures and Microsoft release further updates and patches for the sim. But nonetheless, like I said, perfectly usable and easily able to enjoy basic IFR flying within the sim as it is already. So we are approaching our next waypoint at Newbury, where the FMS, like I said, tells us we should be at around 4,850 feet. I'm expecting ATC to instruct us to descend before too long. Let's wait and see what the ATC tells us to do. Also, we just want to give a big shout out to everybody.
Air Zulu India Sierra, descend and maintain 2,500 feet.
There we go. We've just had instruction from ATC to descend. Let's acknowledge and
descend and maintain 2,500 feet. Air Zulu India Sierra.
Let's make our descent. Yeah, just want to give a big shout out to everybody who has recently joined our page, Microsoft Flight Simulator Flight Squads. Relatively new page, and we're starting to build up our members and a nice community of like-minded flight simmers, and we plan to carry out lots of group flights.
Air Zulu India Sierra, contact Southampton approach on 122.73.
And also deliver content such as this, tutorial videos, and just generally all learn from each other on the page. So yeah, make sure you're nice to everybody. There's no such thing as a stupid question in the group.
Air Zulu India Sierra, please acknowledge.
Let's acknowledge, handoff.
Going to 122.73. Air Zulu India Sierra.
Contact approach.
Southampton approach. Air November Echo X-ray Zulu India Sierra is at 8,000 feet, descending 2,500 feet.
Just going to make our descent.
Echo X-ray Zulu India Sierra, Southampton approach. Continue to Pepis as planned. Altimeter tree 0.1 tree.
Just our altimeter. So just hit flight level change now, and I'm using the throttle, backing the throttle off to pitch the nose down and make our descent down to 2,500 feet. And making our right turn now onto the Pepsis waypoint. Descending pretty quickly. Yeah.
Air Zulu India Sierra, you are 16 miles north. Maintain present heading and altitude. Expect vectors RNAV runway 2 approach.
Yeah, descending quite quickly. I'm sure if we had passengers in the back of the cabin here, they'd all be screaming. Again, if we want to adjust our descent, we can just increase the throttle, and the FMS will bring the nose of the aircraft up. There we go. It does seem a bit twitchy.
Air Zulu India Sierra, did you copy?
Maintain present heading and altitude. Expect vectors RNAV runway 2 approach. Air Zulu India Sierra.
Okay, so descending through 2,800 down to 2,500. Weather's looking absolutely gorgeous down here for our approach. Absolutely beautiful, look at that. You can see my nameplate there, Nexus. That is my my name, my username on Discord, and also Nexus 1587, I think, is my Microsoft Live ID. If any of you want to add me as a friend on there, then please do so, and I'll look forward to flying with you in the sim. Okay, so we're progressing along nicely on our flight plan now. Oops. Not too far to go. So BAM2 is the next waypoint on our approach, and yep, we should be at 2,500 feet, which we are at now. So when we get a bit closer, we'll go on. In fact, let's go and activate the approach now. And then as we make our left turn down here towards BAM2, we will then hit approach mode and capture the glide slope down into runway 2 at Southampton. Nice calm conditions today. One thing we can also do actually is, where was it? In PFD settings, go into other and then select wind. You've got different options for showing you the wind direction and speed. I prefer option 3, so you can see the current heading, and steady 4 knot wind at 212 degrees. Also good to see the live traffic on within the FMS as well. Absolutely incredible. Look at this, guys. Regards performance of the flight sim, I've been doing a lot of tinkering around trying to get the best frames per second that I possibly can. One useful tip that I picked up was to actually use your graphics adapter control panel and actually limit the max frames per second on your graphics adapter. Set it to 30 frames a second, because you're not going to get much more than 30 frames a second. You know, even if you're running ultra at 4K with modern day computers, and you actually don't need a lot more than 30 frames a second to have a nice fluid smooth experience within the sim anyway. But by setting the max frame rate within your graphics card settings, it kind of locks it in at 30 FPS. So even if the system's able to go above that, it locks it in at 30 FPS, and what that basically means is it frees up your compute resources to be able to work on other tasks, and gives you, ultimately less stutter and jitters as you're flying around in the sim. For the most part, unless I'm at very low altitude and there's a lot of scenery going on, I tend to get a very, very steady, buttery smooth 30 frames a second in the sim, which again, it's more than adequate to give you a decent level of immersion without too much stuttering. You see the Southampton coastline ahead there in the distance. So just making our left-hand turn now to intercept the BAM2 waypoint. As we get a little bit closer, we'll arm the approach and then pick up the glide slope. If I quickly fire up the VATSIM charts for Southampton, you will see that it's telling us that we need to be around about 1,700 feet, at or below, at or above, 2,500 feet when we get to BAM2 in order to intercept the glide slope. Do I need to put some more fuel on board? No. Got a fuel imbalance, but I'm not going to worry about that too much now. normally on the approach when we're given clearance to land by ATC, but just because I know the sim can be a little bit flaky, I'm going to go ahead and arm approach mode now. You can see now that the FMS is awaiting the glide slope, and we can see the magenta needle here indicating that at this point we're below the glide slope. That's because we're quite far out from the waypoint there. So this will come up as we get closer to BAM2 on our final approach, and then hopefully we'll get this will go green and we'll intercept the glide path down into runway 2 at Southampton. Reduce our speed a little bit.
Dare Zulu India Sierra, you are 15 miles southwest of Southampton. Maintain present heading and altitude. Contact Southampton Tower on 118.205.
Maintain present heading and altitude. Tower on 118.205 Dare Zulu India Sierra. Southampton Tower Dare November Echo X-Ray Zulu India Sierra 13 miles southwest inbound RNAV runway 2 approach.
Dare November Echo X-Ray Zulu India Sierra Southampton Tower. Cleared RNAV runway 2 approach. Altimeter tree 0.15 wind 172 at 10.
Okay.
Cleared RNAV runway 2 approach Dare Zulu India Sierra.
So making our way around onto our final approach. See the runway ahead. And we should, before too long, be able to intercept the glide slope. Keep an eye here for this to turn green. Wow. keep an eye on our speed, and there we go. We've just intercepted the glide slope.
Sierra cleared to land runway 2. Wind 202 at 10.
Excellent. So now it's all about managing your speed. As obviously the FMS is instructing the plane to nose down to adhere with the glide slope.
Dair Zulu India Sierra, acknowledge last transmission.
Thank you, ATC.
Cleared to land runway 2 Dair Zulu India Sierra.
Landing gear.
Let's bring flaps 1 and bring the landing gear down. Again, just keeping an eye on our speed. Plenty of runway ahead of us, so just going for flaps 1 for this landing, and as we come down we'll disengage the autopilot and fly manually down onto the runway, and hopefully I won't crash. Again, just watching the throttle and the speed. Look at that, guys. Okay. Disengage the autopilot. And let's bring her down nicely. Lovely. So there you go, guys. Like I said, a pretty basic tutorial, but I hope if like me you're kind of teaching yourself how to do this stuff, that's been pretty useful for you. And yeah, give me some feedback, let me know in the comments what you think, and yeah, look forward to chatting to you all on the Microsoft Flight Simulator Flight Squads page. Come along and interact, and yeah, we'll look forward to doing some group flights, and you can expect more tutorials from me in the not too distant future. For now, thanks for watching, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you all soon. Cheers, guys.